This is the Servers Radio Network. Welcome to this edition of A Server's Journey with Rocky DeStefano. The foundation of the program is everybody's leading something or someone, thus we're all on a journey. Good morning, Rocky.
Yeah, we are on a journey. In fact, you guys didn't hear any of this, of course, but prior to getting this show started, we started another podcast several times, but welcome.
It was in my head. I heard the music and it was in my head.
It was, yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming out and listening today. We are excited beyond belief, and everybody knows our show, our foundation is about servant leadership and how everybody's leading somebody and how you really need to work toward being somebody who's worthy to be followed.
You know, the amazing thing is we had a Zoom meeting the other night, and I was with my pastor from my church, and all he was talking about was servant leadership.
Yeah, maybe we should have him on the show since he's our pastor. And
right, and you know, we had him in the studio once, and somehow it didn't record.
Really? See, I don't remember that. Isn't that terrible?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, so today, and, you know, let's just call it what it is. And I know that for a lot of people, they're going through a lot of things. And 2020 has been a crazy year. I mean, just in our own area, we've had the COVID, of course, and everybody sheltering in place. Now we have protest happening in cities all over America. In fact, last night, a 6-block section of Seattle was taken by protesters, and they've called it now the Free Capitol Hill. And then on top of that, in our own local area, we've had tornadoes and tropical storms. It's just an unsettling time for so many people.
It seems like we're in a crisis.
And so what we're going to talk about today, and honestly, I'm going to be borrowing a lot from an article that I read, but we're going to be talking about leading your people in times of crisis. And I think, Larry, this might be a 2-part show, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, you know, speaking about, you found that article, you probably got it on the internet, right?
On the internet. Thank you. Who is the creator? Who claimed that?
I don't have that.
Wasn't the VP?
I don't have that in front of me at the moment, but
why am I blanking on who was Clinton's VP?
Clinton's VP was Al Gore.
Yeah, Al Gore. Didn't he claim to have invented the internet?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. So thank you, Al Gore.
Yes, we want to thank him for that, which helped ACS Creative create websites.
I like that tie-in. That's a good segue.
You see, we were trying to talk about ACS, how they have helped us with our website.
And ACS would be nothing without the internet, right?
That's right.
That's what you're saying.
They do print brochures, they do logos, they do direct mail, they do ad campaigns, but yet they create fantastic websites. So they don't play games with your money. So contact ACS Creative on the internet at ACS Creative.
All right. Thank you, Ed.
Epic moments in leadership.
All right, so today we're actually going to hit and highlight a positive leadership.
It's good that we have a yin and a yang.
That's exactly right. That's the point. So today we're going to start right at the basis, the formation of our country. And we're going to talk about George W. Wait, is it George W. Washington? George Washington.
He's not a Bush.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, George Washington.
Okay.
So he had just won. So he basically took an army and a nation that was tiny with no real discernible armed forces. They created this great army of nobodies and cast-offs and took on the big guy on the block, the bully in the world, which was England. Mm-hmm. And then they win.
Didn't he do that for not a salary?
Yeah, absolutely.
That doesn't sound right, but he did that. He did that gratis.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So they shockingly, surprisingly, and a lot through his decisions that he made in leadership while the war was going on, they win. They win this war. So the American people, of course, they anoint him as the first leader, right? And we call it president.
Yes, and he did not want that.
No.
They first wanted to make him a king, right?
And that is what we're going to talk about. So after 4 years, they hold another election, and he gets elected for 4 additional years. And then there's this movement where, you're right, Larry, the public is saying, hey, we got a good thing going here. Let's anoint him as king. And so the leadership lesson he taught us is to know when to say goodbye. And so he refused. He refused to be anointed a king, and he basically, in a triumphant, amazing farewell address, said, hey, America, I'm going to teach you how to say goodbye. And he stepped down and said, no man should be a king. And at that point, it was shocking to everybody, including the king he had just beat, because the King of England actually said that was a showing of his true character. That's it. That's a pretty good decision he made there.
So being a servant leader means sometimes you step down.
That's right. Yeah. Sometimes you do what's best for the company or the country, and sometimes that's stepping away and letting new blood and new voices take charge.
If you have an example of something that someone's led you in, at the bottom of our website, you can give us a comment. We'd love to hear from you, or wherever you subscribe. There's so many places to make comments. Make a comment. We want to hear from you. It's time for a crisis. Let's get to it.
No, it's already a crisis. But okay, so we're going to be borrowing a lot from a article by Jim Haudan that came out in early March. And it's basically leading your people in times of crisis. And what it looks at is some organizations actually come through crisis better, stronger, and more ready for additional whatever than before the crisis arrived. And the big differentiator that separates the companies is really how the leadership leads, how the leadership engages, how the leadership shares. And so we're going to be looking at this article and kind of talking through 9 points.
Can I talk about how you're doing it also?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Do you know how we're doing it? Or?
Well, I've been amazed how you've taken the issue of all this thing that's happened, and you're still in business, and you're still, so many people are lined up driving through.
Yeah, it's been a real interesting journey, and you think about it, we didn't even hear about COVID until like late February, and then early March, we were shut down or basically made to change the way we do business. And at first, it really took the wind out of our sails. We were having a phenomenal year, as most businesses were. We were way up, and we were, just chugging along. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden, you can't do any inside dining. You don't know really how to move the drive-through or how to move the mobile. So we had to recreate, and really most of it had to do with the people that work with us. And we'll kind of talk about some of those things today.
So were you ignoring the anxiety of your staff?
So that's kind of the first point that they bring up in this article. And really it's about how can you turn adversity into an advantage. So the first thing that they talk about is embrace the anxiety people feel, which is odd because you wouldn't think that, Larry, right?
Right.
Most times we're told to kind of like just, hey, soothe people. It'll be okay.
Yeah, get over it.
Yeah, or the old, which I grew up with my dad. Get a fence, get over it. But anyways, so this article really talked about how it's really even more important to acknowledge and validate how people feel, as right, it's kind of like we had that fight or flight mentality. We all have it. And so that's why I've always been amazed at like police officers and firefighters, because somehow they're able to, I see a fire, I run for safety. I see a guy holding a gun, I run away. But somehow they've been able to push down that fight or flight, basically push down survival, which we all have that survival mode.
So when you came across this crisis and it hit, and you're talking to your staff, did you say, did you have them express how they felt about it?
You know what I think we did, and we didn't have the benefit of this article having been written already. Otherwise, maybe I would have done it a little bit different. But what we did is we empathized with how our people felt and how our people, were thinking. And we just brought it out in the open. and we made it feel safe for them to talk about. And we admitted, hey, I don't know. Like I said that a lot. I don't know. I know we're open today. In fact, my mantra to the team was, we're open today. We are employing people, and we're at least paying the bills. Let's take every day one at a time. And that mantra was easy because it helped us to not look. We don't know about next week. We don't know if we're going to be completely shut down. We don't know if anybody on our staff has COVID and will be forced to shut down for 14 days. Heck, we didn't even know what COVID was then. But we knew what today looked like. We knew we were open. We knew we were serving customers. So let's focus on that. And honestly, for the first 2 weeks, we were in shell shock. We were in survival mode. And every day we just focused on that one thing, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and you gave your team the opportunity to work or not work, right?
Yeah. So the first thing you have to do is we realized that there were going to be people on our staff that were not going to be good for our staff. And what I meant by that is they were just afraid, legitimately afraid. Again, we didn't really know what COVID was. We didn't know how dangerous it was or how it spread. And so we have 240 something people, and we basically told any of them, it's your choice if you want to work or if you don't want to work. And if you don't want to work, then it's okay, take off, and we'll do our best to bring you back at the same everything when you come back.
And so it's what paralyzes people is basically the unknown.
Yeah, and I think that's the second part that they bring up inside this article is you have to clearly define the reality and actively define the reality. What we're finding is that people are amazingly able to deal with reality, even if there's a downside to it, but it's really the unknown that's paralyzing them, right?
Right.
I don't know if you've ever felt that way, Larry. I know I looked at a lot of stories. Viktor Frankl, who wrote a book, he was a famous psychologist, and he was in a concentration camp. And he wrote a book about the differences in people, the people that were killing each other for a bite of bread and the people that were sharing the little bread they had with others, and the different mentalities around it. But one thing that he came up and he talked a lot about is just that point, that it's the unknown that is scary beyond belief. If you're able to share and realize your reality, what it is, and talk about it, then it can lead to people who actually are able to get by, even in a terrible situation.
So I'm going to bring this up, knowing the whys.
Yes.
The why you're open. I love that. Basically, you're talking about one day at a time.
Yes.
You were taking it.
Yes.
But one day turned into what? 2 months?
So what was really good is that we were honest, and we knew that people craved information. Am I going to lose my job? Are we going to be forced to close? Everything was on the table. And while I couldn't guarantee, because there were no guarantees, what I owed them and what we could do is we were truthful. We were not
Are you looking for a certain word that I can't remember?
Yes. Ambiguous. Thank you. Uh-huh. We were not ambiguous. We were honest and truthful. And we were basically just kept saying every single job we can save, we're going to save. And hey, if it comes down to a situation where we have to make cuts, we'll try to make cuts with people it's a high school job, and not with people that are paying bills and mortgages and all that. And it seemed to really help, again, people when they have a clearly defined reality. I think it does give them some peace.
So one of the points they go to next on this article, which is great, is to create a new starting line with all your people. And that's what you were doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
we're open today, and that's it.
Well, I listened to a sermon by Andy Stanley, and it wasn't Andy Stanley, but it was somebody from North Point Church, and they talked about how everybody is dealing with loss during COVID, and you can't compare loss, because if somebody lost a family member to fatality through COVID, that seems like they win. In the race for loss, they are the gold medal champion. And me having to cancel a vacation, or me getting cut to 2/3 time, it doesn't seem like I have any right to put that up there with somebody who might be really sick or dying. But the reality is, everybody lost something, and during a crisis, people become fixated on what they lose. And it could be something like a vacation, a bonus, equity. It could be any of these things.
You're still talking about that vacation. You had a trip to Europe planned, right?
Yes.
And it got canceled.
In fact, we would be on a plane right now, Larry, today.
Well, yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago. But
Larry, it's no, we would actually be flying out today. So thank
really?
you for bringing that painful memory up. No, we would be flying out today. And, it's weird because, like, when I look at, well, that's not really a big loss. Like, I still have my job. I still am paying the bills. Everybody's healthy. But, it is a loss, It is a loss. So by being able to create like a new starting line with your people, it's kind of more, okay, here's where we are right now. Let's start over with these new conditions. Let's try to let go of what could have been, and let's focus on what we can still consider to be a success in this new environment.
So what are some of the challenges that have happened? I mean, this creates a challenge for you, right?
Right, sure, yeah, yes. So it kind of leads into this too. The fourth point they talk about is that you can use this urgency that people are feeling, right? So they're a little bit unnerved, they're a little bit afraid, they're feeling anxious, and in some ways you can use the urgency to get alignment. Instead of looking at change as a crisis lurking just around the corner, you can accelerate your efforts with your leadership, with your team, to analyze and act on problems instead of just wandering around them. Because, the mind is amazing. If you have something to focus on, it really does help alleviate some of your anxiety and your stress and your fear. Larry, I don't know, is there something that you do when you're feeling anxious or nervous that helps you kind of not think about it as much?
Yeah, I come into the studio and do a podcast.
Yeah, because you're working, right? It's focus. I mean, some people run, some people exercise in different ways. Some people listen to music or write. There's play with their kids. There's heck, dogs are a great anxiety reliever. So you want to use this. You really want to focus on trying to get alignment with your staff, alignment with your team.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a great article, and there's a lot more meat in it.
Yeah, for sure.
What I'd like to do is let's just put it aside, and we'll continue next week.
Sounds good, Larry.
Because next week, I think we're going to talk about establishing a new checklist.
Well, we have
Celebrate victories, scout for the possibilities, communicate the score, and highlight the rays of the light.
There you go. You don't have to listen next week.
That's what we're going to be talking about next week. We want to thank you all for being with us here on A Server's Journey. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Is that a positive?
Yes.
Don't forget.
Well, we want you, and let me just tell you guys, we need everybody, really, anybody who listens to this, and I know it's not in the millions. We're well aware. But if you guys could do me a favor, if you're listening to this, just stop right now, take 2 minutes and write a review for us on Apple or Spotify or whatever platform you listen to us on. Rate us, give us a rating. And it means a lot to us. It helps us get put to the top of the list so people will actually have access to us. And it makes us feel good, which is part.
Now, we've also started a community on Facebook. There's a Facebook community now called A Server's Journey Community. Can I?
You can't say it.
I can't say it. So go to Facebook, look us up, and become become a part of the community.
That's right. And on that community, you can ask questions, you can put thoughts, you can share things that are getting you through this crisis right now. I promise we will engage with you, either myself or Larry or Isabella. You know, Isabella's probably the sharpest of all three of
Yes,
us.
she is.
Let's just call it what it is.
She is. So again, I'd like to suggest that you check out, if you need a website, go to ACS Creative. They don't play games with your money. And thanks for linking up with us here on A Server's Journey. Until next time, I am your ever faithful companion, if I could say it.
Yes, and you're my salsa to my chips, Larry.
Oh.
I'm Rocky DiStefano. I want to thank you for listening. We do want to become the best leaders possible, and even more, we just want to be somebody that's worth following.